Funding Circle is reportedly preparing for a stock market flotation, which would be a first for the UK's peer-to-peer lending sector. We ask our industry experts what impact this could have on the company and for the peer-to-peer lending sector as a whole.
Funding Circle as an example and the plans potentially to go on IPO, really what that requires is scale. And I think one of the critical success factors for the whole industry is scale. You know, peer-to-peer and crowd lending can only exist if we're offering competitive finance for the businesses and also a good risk-adjusted return for the lenders. So our job is to stay skinny enough as platforms that we can survive and hopefully thrive, but also meet the demands of both the borrowers and the lenders. It's very, very hard to operate on a little skinny fee level unless you get to scale. So anything which helps us scale is vital. So Funding Circle, one of the most established, brilliant market entry by Samir and James in the first place, going from strength to strength, looking at different geographies. It's really encouraging for the market that they IPO. And it's still the case that, the vast share of investment today are listed entities. So on the one hand, the lending that we offer to investors and the access to finance for the companies is different in that we can operate at a smaller scale, because that's really where there's a challenge in the market. That's why we've had so much government support. We've been able to push through custom regulation. We've had innovative finance ISA invented just for the crowd lending market. This is all to encourage it to get to mainstream and get to scale, because then we can help more businesses, we can provide more choice, and we can offer, I guess, more diversity, not just for choice, but also for financial stability in the economy. So that scale ultimately could lead to more IPOs, but I hope we don't lose what's at our heart, which is thinking about the small businesses and the slightly smaller investors, because if we keep solving those problems, the word will spread and more companies will realise that there are alternatives to going to their high street bank to get the money. And it's not necessarily that the bank says no, but they take a long time to say yes.
So I think it's going to be very exciting for the UK market to see its first IPO in peer-to-peer lending. It has, of course, already occurred in the US market. As we talked about earlier, there is still a lack of awareness about peer-to-peer lending and this kind of ability to invest through debt as opposed to equity or savings. So I think Funding Circle's IPO will help raise the general awareness of peer-to-peer lending as a new asset class for investing and help it become more mainstream. So I think it's a good thing for everybody.
Any flotation is a positive impact on any company unless it goes out at less than it started and the company has to settle for a smaller amount. I mean, I know one company, not a peer-to-peer lender, a fintech company that I know that went out at $1 billion and ended up at 500 million, and that was not good, but they took the money. Or if having gone out, even worse, if having gone out at a price, a month or two later, it tanks and people lose money early on. But other than that, I think an IPO, any kind of listing is very, very good for the company, for the effect on the company and for the industry. I don't want to be commercial, but I've met Funding Circle. I'm impressed with them. I like them. I think they're a good bunch. Yeah, I think it'll be good for them. For the industry, there aren't too many people like them. There aren't too many SME lenders that have their business models, so I don't know what industry we could compare them to. Peer-to-peer lending overall, as I say, you can't really, it's apples and oranges now. You can't compare an SME lender that operates like Funding Circle with, I don't know, I can't think the rate setter, who's lending to individuals or someone like that, or a small, or I can't remember what they're called, the people who do bridge lending for property developers with high net worth monies. They're all different, But yeah, it doesn't hurt, sure, it's great. I mean, when Funding Circle was given, what was it, 40 million by the government, that was great publicity, and they built on that, and they went from there, and so, yeah, sure, doesn't hurt.
Funding Circle is planning on going for an IPO. It's very exciting news. I think the rest of the industry will be waiting with bated breath to see how that plays out. Obviously, back in 2014, the industry, albeit not necessarily not in the UK, saw 2 other flotations, and after that, the share price fall for both On Deck and Lending Club. So I think everybody will be looking at this particular IPO and seeing, are the valuations too aggressive? If it goes well, I think there will be people, other platforms lining up in behind, because certainly it's a direction that many platforms are thinking about doing. If it goes in the same direction of On Deck and Lending Club, perhaps we'll see a little bit less certainty in the market, and I would say probably particularly from institutional investors.